Hey guys, how are you doing? Today in this video, we are going to talk about BioEmu breakthrough, protein foldings and drug discovery. Proteins are the functional engines of life. From muscle contraction to immunity, every biological process depends on them. But mapping their structure has been a scientific puzzle. Now, with AI tools like AlphaFolds and the latest BioEmu, science steps into a new era of protein research. These breakthroughs hold immense potential for drug discovery, disease prediction, and biotechnology, therefore making them highly relevant for your UPSC preparation, particularly for science and technology and even ethics part. Let's begin our discussion today with basic structure of protein, and here we go. Let's talk about proteins, and proteins are, let me just a minute, yes, proteins are, they are functional and structural unit of, you can say life, what. So if you have, let me tell you the basic idea. The central dogma of life was this: you have a DNA, right? DNA has genetic information coded, and this DNA is transcribed into RNA, particularly first messenger RNA, and in then ribosomes with the help of transfer RNA, they are basically making proteins. So proteins are basic building blocks of life, right? Proteins are basic building blocks of life. Okay, so these have sequences, so these have some kind of structure, and जो protein की structure होगी, that will determine its basically its function. Essentially proteins are nano machines, and they make our life work. But how do proteins do that? Proteins are, they are working molecules of cell, right? They carry out programs of activities encoded in gene, which I am talking about DNA. This program requires coordinated efforts of many different types of proteins, and therefore they are just they sequence, and this primary sequence, the linear sequence of amino acids, also known as primary structure, it folds into alpha helix. Something is called alpha helix, if you know about, and beta seeds. There are technical names like alpha helix and beta seeds, and they make some kind of local foldings takes place, and which we call secondary structures, right? Then now they pack into a globular fibrous domain, like globules, ऐसे globular structures बनती हैं, and these are called tertiary structures. We should only know a bit about these things. They can ask you. Some individual proteins, they self associate into complex called quaternary structures that can consist of tens of hundreds of subunits, right? They are called supramolecular assemblies. So proteins are, they are basically they are amino acids, right? Amino acid, NH2 group. Essentially proteins have at least one NH2 group and one COOH acid, right? This is basically this is called carboxylic acid, right? Carboxylic acid. You should remember ribosomes, right? Cell biology में जो ribosomes होते हैं, ribosomes are essentially most important. The only function of ribosome is to make proteins. With the help of this messenger RNA templates, you have DNA, and the central dogma of life is like this, which Watson and Crick discovered double helix structure, and Crick, I guess, he, what he did actually, he proposed something called central dogma of life, and DNA से जो informations होती है वो RNA में templates के रूप में जाती है, which is called messenger RNA, and this messenger RNA goes to ribosomes, and with the help of transfer RNA, it is translated into proteins. This is the basic building of life. Okay, what are the basic function of proteins? Proteins are everywhere. For example, hemoglobin is protein. In our muscles, actin is protein. All enzymes are virtually proteins. Some, for example, some hormones, let me tell you, some hormones which like some hormones like human growth hormone, which is released by pituitary gland, is essentially protein, right? Thyroxine is proteinous hormone. They are protein in the structure. All enzymes are proteins, and enzymes are, they are biocatalyst. So for example, our digestion get speed up with the help of proteins only, and these proteins are technically called enzymes. They catalyze basically. Okay, flow of small molecules and ion, which is called transport, right? For example, hemoglobin is a transporting protein, right? So you should remember this. Not only that, these protein, they are sensing and reaction to environment. They are called signaling protein. What they do, they sense and react accordingly, okay, in the cellular environment. They control protein activity, which is called regulation. So signaling, transportation, catalyzation, catalysis. For example, you have for example amylase, amylase, for example, ptyline, P-T-Y-L-I-N, salivary amylase, ptyline, you have pepsin. This is again another enzyme which breaks down proteins into amino acids. You have, for example, in our pancreatic juice, we have trypsin, we have pepsin in stomach, trypsin is there. Trypsin is there where? It is in our pancreas, which breaks down proteins. Then we have, उसके अलावा हमारे पास क्या होता है, अमाइलेज, ट्रिप्सिन, है ना? तो किसी को याद होगा, फॉर एग्जांपल लाइपेज, व्हाट इट डज, लाइपेज ब्रेक्स डाउन फैट्स इनटू फैटी एसिड्स. सो दिस इज catalytic function of or catalytic function of proteins, right? They are nano machines basically, so organization of genome, and this is also the function of proteins. Lipids, bilayer membrane and cytoplasm structural proteins भी होते हैं. तो जो उसमें जो सेल की जो मेम्ब्रेन होती है, वी कॉल इट सेमी परमिएबल मेम्ब्रेन, एंड दिस परमिएबिलिटी इज बिकॉज ऑफ सम काइंड ऑफ प्रोटीन्स, राइट? डीएनए हैज आल्सो प्रोटीन्स कॉल्ड हिस्टोन प्रोटीन्स. दे पैक्ड अप दोज डीएनए इनटू क्रोमोसोम्स. दैट इज मोस्ट इंपोर्टेंट. जनरेशन ऑफ फोर्स फॉर मूवमेंट. सम प्रोटीन्स आर कॉल्ड मोटर प्रोटीन्स लाइक फ्लैजिला, राइट? फ्लैजिला. अच्छा, जैसे हम खांसते हैं तो इन अवर respiratory system we have these motors, flagella motors. Amoeba has these small motors, due to which is called pseudo, I just don't remember, it is called pseudopodia. Yes, I remember now, pseudopodia. So pseudopodia are basically false feet, pseudopodia. So pseudopodia in amoeba are basically false feet. They help in capturing food and movement also. These are proteins, right? So these functions and other arises from specific binding interaction and conformational. Conformational mean इसका मतलब होता है structure, atomic structure, structural changes in the structure of a properly folded proteins, and these structures arises because of this thing, right? Okay, now let's talk about BioEmu, right? BioEmu can enable large scale drug discovery with fewer resource constraints. So BioEmu, what is BioEmu? So if you know about BioEmu, it is a deep learning system, right? Deep learning system which is developed by Microsoft and Rice University researchers, right? They predict full range of, so here I am writing, okay, what it does, it predicts full range of shapes of proteins. Okay, just remember this, this is what we want to talk about, right? So let me tell you, these proteins explores biological, biological conformations, right? और इसमें क्या करते हैं हम, these proteins are dynamic molecules that twist and flex with movement crucial to their biological function, right? तो बायोलॉजिकल फंक्शंस के लिए इनमें क्या होते हैं, बॉन्ड्स टूटते हैं, बनते हैं. अगर आप लोगों को याद हो तो वी यूज्ड टू टॉक अबाउट, हमने बेसिक बायोकेमिस्ट्री की क्लास में वी टॉक्ड अबाउट हाइड्रोजन बॉन्ड्स. वी आल्सो टॉक अबाउट वॉन डर वॉल इंटरेक्शंस, राइट? वॉन डर वॉल इंटरेक्शंस होती है इनमें. उसके अलावा इनमें छोटे छोटे क्या होते हैं, ऐसे मैग्नेट्स लाइक स्ट्रक्चर. एच बॉन्ड्स एंड वॉन डर वॉल इंटरेक्शंस आर particularly very very important. These bonds can be broken down with physiological relevant temperature, for example at 37 degrees Celsius in our body, and therefore these these small forces, small interactions, they enable these molecules twist, flex and modify, right? So go through that video, I have made one for you, right? BioEmu, a new AI system which predicts the full range of protein shapes in biological conditions rapidly and at scale. That is most important about it. Unlike slow molecular dynamics, earlier people used this molecular dynamics simulations. BioEmu uses AI diffusion model. This is the difference. Another one is it helps. It's something called diffusion model. Go through to this thing, and if you don't know, we will get into another video. Diffusion model, it is very famous, AI models to generate thousands of protein conformations. BioEmu accurately captures large and small protein shape changes, including cryptic pockets, important for drug docking sites, right? तो ड्रग कैसे डॉक करते हैं किसी प्रोटीन साइट पे, उस चीज को भी ये क्या कर पाएगा, प्रिडिक्ट कर पाएगा, एंड देयरफॉर इट इज वेरी वेरी काइंड ऑफ रेवोल्यूशन, इट इज काइंड ऑफ ब्रेक थ्रू, जिससे ड्रग डिस्कवरी में बहुत हेल्प मिलने वाली है. While BioEmu produces stable protein shapes fast, it can't simulate detailed step-by-step movement pathways. That is one drawback with this, BioEmu, or otherwise we have to go to this level, right? BioEmu currently lacks modeling of proteins, interactions and environment factors. ये भी याद रखना, और याद रखना 80% तक का सक्सेस रेट है इसका, है ना. Combining BioEmu's speed with MD's detail offers a promising hybrid method for efficient, accurate protein flexibility studies, right? तो जो दूसरा सिस्टम था जिसको कहते हैं मॉलिक्यूलर डायनामिक्स, उसके साथ अगर हम इसको क्या करें, कंबाइन करें, तो देन दैट कैन गिव यू काइंड ऑफ मिरेकल, राइट? आई होप यू हैव अंडरस्टूड, राइट? तो अर्लियर द गोल्ड स्टैंडर्ड फॉर मॉलिक्यूल और मॉडलिंग प्रोटीन्स, देयर वाज मॉलिक्यूलर डायनामिक्स, which tracks atomic movement. What it does actually, molecular dynamics, it tracks atomic movements of millions of billionth of a second, using like there was GROMAC, one software, GROMAC or Anton, I guess Anton, yes, okay. तो ये इसके बारे में है. तो if you want to talk a bit more about it, so we can talk a bit about it, so BioEmu is basically, it is Biomolecular Emulator, it is short for, अगर इसका पूरा नाम लिखोगे तो आप क्या लिखोगे, Biomolecular Emulator, right? Emulation, emulator, right? तो वो उसको क्या करता है, एक प्रकार का कॉपी करना, नकल करना, है ना, जैसे आप इम्यूलेट करते हो, है ना. Biomolecular Emulator, it is basically deep learning AI model, artificial intelligence model. These days we are talking a lot about this deep learning models, right? तो डीप लर्निंग के बारे में बहुत बात हो रही है कई लंबे टाइम से, राइट? दे बिहेव्स लाइक स्टिमुलेटर्स बट मच फास्टर, तो व्हाट दिस इज, दैट इट बिहेव्स लाइक, what it does, it behaves like a stimulator but much faster, but much faster, sorry, so I am much faster, it is much faster, okay. It is trained on huge set of high quality data, so this model is trained on a huge set of high quality data, including AlphaFolds, है ना. तो गूगल की जो कंपनी AlphaFolds, तो AlphaFolds का डेटा सेट भी इसके पास, AlphaFolds, okay, sorry, AlphaFolds, इंक्लूडिंग AlphaFolds का जो डेटा है, AlphaFolds का डेटा सेट है इनके पास, इस मॉडल के पास, और जिसमें कम से कम 100 मिलियन प्रोटीन्स की स्ट्रक्चर है, 100 मिलियन प्रोटीन स्ट्रक्चर्स, ओके, 100 मिलियन प्रोटीन स्ट्रक्चर्स आर देयर, कहां पर, इस पे BioEmu, राइट, ओके. It can predict large scale domain motion. What it can does, it can predict, this BioEmu, it can predict large scale, it can predict large scale domain motion, okay. तो आप एक हाइब्रिड मॉडल बना सकते हो बायोमोलिक्यूलर डायनामिक्स के साथ, ओके. इट प्रिडिक्ट्स प्रोटीन स्टेबिलिटी एंड इफेक्ट्स ऑफ म्यूटेशन, इट कैन प्रिडिक्ट, what it can predict protein, ओके, मैं दूसरे कलर के पेन से आपको हाईलाइट कर देता हूं, प्रोटीन स्टेबिलिटी एंड effects of genetic mutations, effect of mutations, that is most important for disease basically. तो डिजीज के जो उसके साइड इफेक्ट्स होते हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल कैंसर एंड ऑल, ओके. इट ओपन्स अ डोर फॉर अंडरस्टैंडिंग द एस्पेक्ट ऑफ प्रोटीन्स एट स्केल, फॉर एग्जांपल ड्रग डिस्कवरी, प्रोटीन डिजाइन, राइट. तो देयरफॉर ड्रग डिस्कवरी में क्या करेगा, हेल्प करेगा, and even it can find out pockets where these drugs are docked, right? So drug discovery, their design and biological, and their design, right? So this is what BioEmu, okay. And I have talked a bit about BioEmu के बारे में, ज़्यादा हमको अभी जानने की जरूरत मतलब इतनी है, पर मैंने आपको बता दिया है कि व्हाट इज द बेसिकली ड्रॉबैक विद दिस सिस्टम. BioEmu produces stable protein, that is good, है ना, with very fast speed, that is also good. बट इसको ये नहीं पता कि व्हाट आर द स्टेप्स, जिसको एल्गोरिदम बोलते हैं, तो एल्गोरिदम नहीं पता इसको. डिटेल्ड स्टेप बाय स्टेप मूवमेंट पाथवे it cannot stimulate or simulate basically, right? BioEmu currently lacks modeling of protein interactions and environmental factors. ठीक है, तो ये भी एक प्रॉब्लम है इसके साथ. और अभी का जो सोल्यूशन है वो क्या है, BioEmu की स्पीड को मॉलिक्यूलर डायनामिक्स की डिटेलिंग के साथ अगर हम क्या करते हैं, एक हाइब्रिड मॉडल बनाते हैं, तो दैट कैन गिव सम मैजिकल रिजल्ट्स, राइट? So we wind up this video today here. We don't need to get into more details right now. Here is a question for you. If you want to write answer, maybe this question they will not ask you, but it will give you kind of hands-on experience of writing this kind of questions. Artificial intelligence powered platform like BioEmus are redefining the landscape of protein science. Discuss how such tools can transform drug discovery and healthcare innovation in India or even world also. Okay, also highlights the ethical and regulatory considerations involved in their large scale deployment. Write this question for 250 words. Okay, so here we wind up this video. Thank you so very much. If you like the video, don't forget to hit subscribe button, don't forget to hit like button, share button, and do comment. Thank you so very much. See you guys until next time. Till then, goodbye. Thank you.